I was working with a client and we were working on a description of your higher power, our higher power. What is a higher power? So, with this conversation, I thought, well, I can't be the only one looking for a way to describe it, and she can't be the only one looking for an understanding of it. And then I was talking to a friend who has gone through the AA 12-step program. And in AA, they teach people to give up your struggles to a higher power. And so this topic that I'm going to talk about today is a culmination of all of that. So if you have ever been challenged with trying to come up with a definition, or maybe you're in resistance because it sounds religious and you're like, ugh, no, I'm not interested in that. And then, the G word, God, that might sometimes send people in a direction. They're like, oh, run for the hills. I don't know what to say. We're going to talk about religion and I don't want to do that. But when we can have this conversation based on spiritual knowledge rather than something being tried to force down, something being forced down our throats, that's what I was looking for, or someone trying to push beliefs off on someone else. Anyway, if this is you by now, if you're still here, something about this must ring true for you. So I'd like to share my screen with you right now and share this opportunity for you to, get a good look at what I'm talking about here. Okie dokie. So we talked about this topic in our dojo group, and I'm always sharing about the dojo group, right? This is the group of women. We meet every week, and you're welcome to go in and check this out. But these are the kind of topics we have. And if you're interested, check us out. But today we're going to be talking about your higher power, what that means. And I want to make sure that you saw the video on your heart energy and you, because that's what we talked about last week. I've already posted that video and you'll have a link to it at the end here. So you can click on that if that's something that you want to know more about. But for today, we're going to be talking about your higher power. So when we talk about a higher power, what are we referring to? How do we work with it? And how do we give our problems up to a higher power? I mean, if we can't define it, if we can't see it, I mean, how do we do that? Sometimes it just feels like we're slogging in the mud, right? Like we're just trying and life just seems like it's pulling us down and, sucking us into the mud and the mire. And so when someone says, oh, you're feeling beaten down, you're feeling trampled on, give it to your higher power. Well, great. How do we do that? And if we're supposed to give our struggles and challenges up to a higher power, how can we possibly do that if we don't have a clear understanding or believable definition of what our higher power is? What is our higher power? Is it God? And if it is, what is our definition of God? Many people define God's actions in the same way we were parented. So our religious dogma created our beliefs about God and how God operates. If you tend to think of God in the same way you think of the way you were parented, you can rewrite your story. You absolutely can. And when you do this, when you take the opportunity to rewrite your story and say, okay, those were human beings, those were parents with limiting beliefs of their own. And so they parented the way they knew how, or the way that made sense to them, or for whatever reason they chose to parent the way they parent. Okay, those are human beings that parented that way. But how can I divide, separate that belief I've created that God, higher power, the universe, whatever definition you use, is the same way? Because I'll tell you what happens. It's not so much that we're consciously defining it that way. It's more about that's how we feel. We created a feeling inside of us, an emotion that is evoked within us when we think about what that means to relinquish something to a higher power. So when you find yourself thinking of the wounded part of your child, rewrite the story of who your parents were. See them as the way you wish they had nurtured and loved you. And with that feeling and those thoughts, you can redefine your definition of God or a higher power. Remember, parents punish, but God loves. God loves you so much that you're given free will to believe in whatever you choose to believe in. So if you want to believe that you need to struggle, then that is the energy you are sending out to the universe. Those are the thoughts you're having, and that's the energy that's going out and what you're attracting back to you. And the universe is simply responding by creating something in your life to help you feel the way you're asking to feel. But most of us were taught that God is a punishing God, meaning if I do something wrong, will I be punished or burn in hell for eternity? And if so, what is considered wrong? How do we define what is wrong? Do we define it by what someone else believes is right or wrong, or are we able to define it based on our needs in the moment? If we're asking or praying for something in our adult life and not receiving it, what then? How many times did we ask for something as a child only to be told that we don't need it, it's too expensive, we should be grateful for what we have, don't be so selfish? These childhood experiences teach us to create a belief about what happens when we ask for something. But remember, when you asked your parents for something, they responded to your request depending on what frame of mind and beliefs they had. But that's not the way God, your higher power, the universe works. The universe gives you what you ask for based on the energy with which you're asking. Remember, everything is energy. So when you believe you deserve to have what you want, your conversation with your higher power comes from a powerful state of being. You feel relaxed and confident because you know there's mutual love and admiration in the asking and the receiving, rather than the being told no that you're used to when you ask uh, a person, for permission. And then we grow up and we hear people talk about the law of attraction. They tell us that the minute we ask, it is given, and yet we see no evidence of it. When we don't see the evidence of it, we're told we must have a limiting belief about receiving, and work has to be done before we can receive it. Doesn't that go right back to that feeling of being punished? Like, oh, you're telling me I can do this, but then you're taking it away. And what about fear? If you have a religious belief that you'll be punished for something and you do it anyway and feel guilty, is guilt a form of punishment or an opportunity to turn your face to a higher power, knowing that a deity of love would never punish you for anything? To date, there are over 4,300 separate religions in the world. So where do we turn when we're looking for a clear understanding or believable definition of what our higher power is? When we're trying to figure out what to believe and how to make sense of it all, this is when we usually fall back to those beliefs that we created in childhood. So we only know what we know. I like to call it your known zone. Don't Google that. That's a Nancy word. But that's what we were like, well, this is what I know to be true because this is what I've experienced over and over. But when we are tapping into our known zone or those beliefs we created in childhood, that's why we keep creating our future from our past, because we keep doing only what we know. We're taught to be still and know that I am God. Well, bully for you, God. In the meantime, I'm down here trying to pay my rent, trying to grow my business, trying to get healthy, trying to get out of an abusive relationship, or sitting by helplessly while I watch someone I love going through a difficult time. How can being still possibly help me? But the answer is in the question. What does it mean to be still? We must remember that everything is energy. And if we are putting energy towards fear, doubt, and disbelief about receiving our desires, we are unable to hear that soft, still voice inside us. That voice is our true self, our inner strength. In my experience, being still means stop fighting, stop resisting, stop trying to prove there's something wrong by insisting that there's something wrong. When you start speaking to yourself with love and having conversations with your higher power, with an ever increasing love of self, you begin to create the most beautiful, synchronized dance of love and happiness. Are you beginning to see how this is all about what you're feeling? When we're thinking about a higher power, that higher power is that feeling that we have inside us, that feeling that we have in our heart area. It's that feeling of love and acceptance and worthiness. And sometimes, even in our adult life, we have maybe very few opportunities where we truly feel that from someone else because we don't have that trust, or maybe we feel unworthy. So when you feel your worthiness from a feeling of love pouring over you, it becomes something you want more of. You're like, oh my gosh, that feels so good. Oh my gosh, that feels so amazing. But at the same time, it can feel maybe fearful or uncomfortable because you think, well, what is this? Could this possibly last? I don't even know what is this? And you may have felt it from another person, but when you feel it from within, you know then that you're able to tap into it at any given moment. This happens when you stop trying to have a relationship with your higher power from your mind, those beliefs we created in childhood, that known zone that we tap into, and allow yourself to feel the relationship from your heart. You'll know when this happens because it feels like something's breaking open inside of you. And this is your opportunity to move out of your mind and stay in your heart so you can accept this immense feeling of love. Your mind will tell you you're in a danger zone, but that's just because the mind is used to being in charge and fears are being replaced. So, why is it so much easier for us to believe in our perceived unworthiness instead of allowing ourselves to feel the love and acceptance emanating from the higher power within us? Anything we say after the words I am is us invoking a prayer. In his book, The God Solution, Neil Donald Walsh reminds us that we are here to command and consider the verse, with my hands command ye me. When we insist there's something wrong, it reduces the power of the output of your metaphysical energy. Remember, everything is energy. Everything is energy. So pleading is never as powerful as commanding. We're not really giving orders. We're actually following God's orders. We've been told to declare what we want God to do for us, our higher power to do for us, the universe to do for us. Such as in our prayer, we're like, give us this day our daily bread. Not ask God to do it. Please, God, please bring me some bread today. When we go with that idea of pleading, then the idea we feel like we're not in charge. We don't feel powerful. And by making statements with conviction, not ordering, not commanding, not saying, I don't know why this isn't happening, because that's in a primal state of being, right? That's that fight, flight, or freeze. But the idea is to experience yourself as containing an energy that has been gifted to us by God, the universe, a higher power, whatever your word for this is. This changes your interaction with the divine from a request to a decree. So, what are your I am statements? What do they sound like? Do they sound like I am scared? I am fearful. I am broke. I am sick. I am frustrated. I am angry. We know the way to manifest what we desire comes from a powerful state of being or positive feelings, because your state of being is how you're feeling in any given moment. So when we're so fearful of being honest with how we're feeling or the questions we have about being able to define our higher power, that we're not really showing ourselves or allowing ourselves to feel. Then all we can do is feel powerless. And we certainly know what it feels like to feel powerless, right? That could take us right back to childhood when you felt like you wanted to voice your opinion, you wanted to say something, you wanted someone to understand you. And for whatever reason, you felt very disempowered. Those feelings and emotions stay with us, they stay in the body. That feeling of powerlessness is the same feeling of powerlessness we felt as children when we were told not to talk back, not to voice our opinion, or we were in some way victimized with no way to fight back. Those feelings of helplessness can be something we may still be creating within ourselves when we're not allowing ourselves to be truthful with how we feel about our higher power, what it is, what to call it. This is why places like the rage rooms are so popular, because it allows people to get those feelings out of them while telling themselves that they're doing it in a way that's socially acceptable. Yeah, man, I went over there and it just destroyed a few things, but if that's what you want to do, if that's how you need to get it out. But the thing is when you get it out, what are you going to do next? Like, are you continually looking for something to take your rage out on? So if you're angry at someone or an experience you had, that's you in blame mode or in victim mode. And that is a very primal state of being. That's that fight, flight, or freeze. Happiness is birthed from feeling unhappy. Just like joy is birthed from sorrow, well-being is birthed from mental or physical pain, and abundance is birthed from lack. So how do you give your struggles and challenges up to a higher power? Well, one thought at a time, one urge at a time, one step at a time. If you think you can't give something up to your higher power, well, duh, think again. If you can give your power to fear, you've just proven to yourself that you have the ability to give your power to something. So doesn't reasoning tell you that you also have the ability to give those same doubts to the power of love? When we give ourselves permission to define our higher power in a way that makes sense to us, regardless of what someone else thinks or tells us we need to do, we are being authentic to who we are so we can stop conforming to the beliefs of others. Personally, I don't think gratitude is about being grateful for what we have. I think it's about feeling the magnitude of happiness and pride that wells up inside of us when we finally believe we deserve to have everything we want in life. Just like when someone gives you a gift and you really appreciate it, you feel that welling up inside of you that, oh my gosh, this person took the time to think about me and put some thought into this. And you have this magnitude of feeling inside of you. And the love we feel for ourselves is so strong. The only vessel big enough to hold it all is the vessel we call gratitude. So if we truly believe that we're all part of the one, then this feeling of immense gratitude and love may surely be a way to define and acknowledge our higher power. And doesn't it also make sense that we'd want to feel this way as often as possible? Could we also then take it a step farther and say that our higher power feels like relief? I mean, I know when I give challenges, struggles, thoughts, beliefs up to my higher power, it feels, I feel tremendously relieved. Like, oh my gosh, okay. Oh, it feels so good to get that out of me, off of me, away from me. That immense feeling of relief associated with the knowing that we've relinquished the wheel to someone else so that we can rest and let someone else do the driving for change. Oh my gosh, that's like the best gift ever. You want to relax, just want to say, oh my gosh, okay, great. I'm letting someone else take over. But that can be difficult for us to do, for us control freaks or people who are used to being in control, or we feel that we can't trust others, so we have to do it ourselves. You know, when we have that control within us where we feel like we have to make sure that everything is going the way we need it to go so that we know everything will turn out the way we want it to go. That can be so exhausting. And that's exactly what we have the opportunity to give up. So if we truly want to see change in the world, we have to learn to be the change. And that can only happen when we are open to embracing and acknowledging our higher power. But we can't do that if we're afraid to ask questions. It's time for us to dismantle the foundation of the outdated patriarchal and religious dogma that we were taught and ask as many questions or have as many conversations as needed until we're completely satisfied with our understanding of what it means to relinquish all problems to a higher power while embracing our own power of divine feminine energy. Yes, we have so much power. We truly do. And we give it away based on what we were taught or the beliefs that we've created. So when we are giving our power away, it doesn't feel good. I know I've talked a lot about feelings right now, but um, for me, this was the best way to explain this. So when you're saying to someone, well, what does that mean to give it up to a higher power? I really believe that we have to feel confident enough and trust enough to have the conversation, whether it's with another person or by ourselves, about, well, what does God mean? I'm confused. I don't really know, but I'm as old as I am and I should know all this, right? And if I tell someone that I don't really understand, they're going to judge me. And there's our trust issue again, right? We're like, we don't want to be judged. We don't want someone to think we don't know something that we should know by now. But, this is also the kind and loving feeling, self-care that we can give to ourselves by saying, I don't know. I haven't quite figured this out. All I know is when I say the word God, it it doesn't feel good to me and I get this knee-jerk reaction. But then I feel guilty and I don't want to tell people that. And so we say, okay, well, perhaps you can call it your higher power. Okay, well, what does that mean though, a higher power? Does that mean something that's up in the sky? I don't really know. And this is why it's so important for us to be able to have these conversations with people that you trust, with people that um, you know, believe, have your best interest at heart. They see you're struggling. And so they'll say, well, what about this? What about that? And this is what I'm trying to do with this video. Um, Leave some comments if you're someone who also struggles with this. And please be kind. We don't need people leaving comments saying, well, if you don't believe in God, there's something wrong with you, because we're not here to judge. We're here to support. We're here to collaborate. We're here so that everyone gets the answer that is best for them so that they can understand it in a way that makes most sense to them. It's just like um, if we were learning something and someone was trying to explain it to us and we just weren't getting it, but then someone else came along and they explained it their way, we're like, oh, I get it, because it made more sense to hear it from this person than it did to hear it from this person. Einstein said you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. And that's so true. So if we're feeling all of these fearful beliefs that we had in childhood, or we keep going back to our known zone for answers and we're not getting them, this is why we have the opportunity to meet with people who are having these conversations. um, Also, in the description of this video, I have shared a link for Wayne Dyer, his japa meditation. Very powerful if you're looking for exercises, tips, tools for this. Also, I mentioned the book that I had read from Neil Donald Walsh, The God Solution. I have that link in the description. And I also have a description or a link for you to check out Beethoven. I'm going to read it over here. I have notes over here. Beethoven's Beethoven's Symphony Number 7, Movement 2. And this is a specific piece of music that can support you to be in a peaceful state of being and allowing yourself to let go of the past, let go of your sorrows, let go of your trials, challenges, and regrets as you forgive yourself and move toward the vibration that will attract you to whatever information is relevant for you to be in a healthy, loving, powerful state of being. I wanted to read that specifically so that you heard that all. And I hope this information has been something that has empowered you to embrace your higher power, maybe understand your higher power. For me, what I can share with you is it's a feeling. It's a feeling of immense relief, love, feeling accepted, feeling worthy. And sometimes we can put words to something, but until you feel it strongly within you, um, it might be indescribable. So again, if you're wondering, how to keep that heart energy open, you'll see the video from last week that I shared on your heart energy and you. Please leave me some comments. Let me know how I can support you on this. If you have any other questions, visit me at masteringyourbeliefs.com for free resources. If you like this video, subscribe, leave me some comments, let me know. And if you have any questions or topics that you'd like covered, let us know. Or when you go to masteringyourbeliefs.com, check out the dojo. Look at what we're doing every Tuesday. We meet virtually every Tuesday. All women are welcome. So if you have any questions or anything that's coming up for you, please let me know how I can support you. In the meantime, this is Nancy Muller, the one and only Life Sensei, saying ciao for now.